We are living in a unique time. A moment in history where governments, military agencies, and global institutions are beginning to reveal what was once considered forbidden.
Do you believe we have crashed craft? Stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the
Unidentified aerial phenomena in our skies. But strange lights above the Earth are no novelty. Across every age, every empire, and every faith, humanity has looked to the heavens and witnessed the unexplained. From ancient scrolls and clay tablets to medieval chronicles and modern radar footage, the skies have always held secrets. So we must ask, are we truly living in the era of disclosure, or are we once again being told only part of the story? Could these beings now called UAPs be the same entities once worshipped as gods? We are living in extraordinary times. For decades, the very idea of extraterrestrial visitors, of flying objects maneuvering beyond the limits of human technology, was dismissed, ridiculed, and buried under the weight of scientific denial and institutional fear. To speak of UFOs was to risk your reputation. To believe was to invite ridicule. But something has shifted. Today, for the first time in modern history, the unknown is being officially acknowledged. Military branches, intelligence agencies, and scientific panels are stepping forward, no longer with flat denial, but with cautious admission. They now speak of unidentified aerial phenomena, not as fantasy, but as a matter of national security. In July 2023, during a U.S. congressional hearing, former Air Force intelligence officer David Grusch testified under oath that the U.S. government has operated a secret, multi-decade reverse engineering program of recovered vessels. He also stated that the U.S. has recovered non-human biologics from alleged crash sites. Grusch claimed that these findings were based on interviews with individuals who had direct knowledge of the programs. The Pentagon's All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, reported receiving 757 UAP reports between May 1, 2023 and June 1, 2024. Of these, 485 incidents occurred during the reporting period, while 272 were from previous years but were not reported until this period. This brought the total cases under review to over 1,600 as of June 1, 2024. We are being told, you were not wrong to ask questions. But is this really a revelation, or just the official version of something ancient? Because long before the term UAP was created, long before satellites orbited the Earth, people around the world were looking to the sky and recording what they saw. Beings descending from the heavens, lights with no source, crafts that floated, hovered, disappeared. So maybe this isn't a new era at all. Maybe this is the continuation of an old story, a story that started long before governments and radar, long before modern languages were written down. Strange objects in the sky are not modern inventions. They've been here since the beginning. Long before the modern military coined the term UAP, and long before the public saw videos of unexplained crafts darting across fighter jet cameras, ancient civilizations were already documenting encounters with strange beings and flying vessels. And nowhere is this more extensively recorded than in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization and the home of the Anunnaki. The term Anunnaki has deep linguistic and historical roots. In Akkadian, the word Anunnaki is used, while in Sumerian, the term is Anuna. Both derive from the name Anu, the sky god and supreme deity of the Mesopotamian pantheon. Thus, Anuna or Anunnaki essentially means offspring of Anu, or those of royal blood, often interpreted as those who from heaven to earth came. It's crucial to note that Anunnaki is a plural term, not referencing a single being, but a group, often portrayed as powerful deities or advanced beings involved in shaping human destiny. These weren't metaphors or spiritual archetypes. The Sumerians, in their cuneiform tablets dating back over 5,000 years, described the Anunnaki as physical beings who descended from the sky. They landed, ruled, taught, constructed cities, and ultimately departed, leaving behind a structured civilization and enigmatic myths. Much of what we explore today about the Anunnaki has been popularized by Zecharia Sitchin, particularly in his books The 12th Planet and The Lost Book of Enki. It's important to clarify, while Sitchin understood cuneiform and ancient languages, he did not personally translate all the tablets. His interpretations were based on existing academic translations, which he recontextualized within a broader narrative. His strength was not in linguistic accuracy, but in synthesizing myth, ancient records, and astronomy into a coherent alternative history. For that dedication, I deeply respect his name and work. He devoted his life to this pursuit. However, I don't believe he represents the final truth, and I'll explain why at the end of our journey. Across the globe, similar accounts emerge. In ancient India, the epic texts of the Mahabharata and Ramayana describe the Vimanas, flying machines capable of great speed, maneuverability, and destruction. These crafts were not just symbols, they were described with technical detail. Propulsion systems powered by mercury, glowing lights, thunderous noises, and the ability to vanish into the sky. The Pushpaka Vimana, for example, was said to move according to the will of its pilot, like a modern drone or intelligent aircraft. When we re-examine the Bible through a historical and mythological lens, patterns emerge. The Hebrew word Elohim, used in Genesis, is grammatically plural. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth, could just as well be translated as the gods created. Scholars acknowledge that Elohim implies a multiplicity of divine beings, perhaps the same beings we know as the Anunnaki. Within this pantheon, Yahweh was not initially the all-powerful monotheistic deity. In earlier Canaanite religion, Yahweh was one among many gods, a storm deity with specific domains of influence. Only later, through religious centralization and theological editing, did he become supreme. This parallels Sumerian narratives where Enlil and Enki, two sons of Anu, held competing visions for humanity. The Genesis story of creation mirrors the Sumerian account of genetic engineering, where the Anunnaki, particularly Enki, modified early humans for labor. The tale of Noah's flood is almost identical to the older epic of Gilgamesh, where Enki warns Utnapishtim of the coming deluge. And the Tower of Babel story echoes an Anunnaki intervention to disrupt human unity and language, perhaps fearing another rebellion like the one led by Marduk. These aren't just coincidental themes. They are shared memories retold across cultures, echoing the presence of a real phenomenon: sky beings coming down with power and light. And then we look to today. In July 2023, Commander David Fravor, a former U.S. Navy pilot, testified before Congress about an encounter off the coast of California. He described a craft that had no wings, no visible propulsion system, and the ability to descend from 80,000 feet to sea level in less than a second. Similar accounts from Navy radar operators and pilots confirm these observations. Crafts that move with instantaneous acceleration, turn at right angles mid-flight, and remain completely silent. These are not flights of imagination. They are documented behaviors that mirror the very same gods described in ancient texts. Whirlwinds, fiery chariots, skyships that speak, that shine, that vanish. So the question must be asked, what if we are not witnessing something new? What if we are witnessing something ancient returning? While the ancient texts of Sumer and the mythologies of India and the Levant provided structured cosmologies filled with sky gods and flying machines, the phenomenon of beings in the sky didn't vanish with those civilizations. It continued, evolving in form yet persisting in presence, through medieval history, indigenous traditions, and right into the pre-modern age. In nearly every era, humanity has recorded the presence of something or someone watching from above. Take, for example, the infamous 1561 Nuremberg phenomenon. On the morning of April 14, 1561, the citizens of Nuremberg, Germany, witnessed a chilling spectacle that filled the skies with chaos. In broad daylight, what appeared to be a battle erupted above the city. Dozens of objects, circular, cylindrical, and spear-shaped, appeared over the rooftops, maneuvering with incredible speed. Witnesses reported black spheres, fiery globes, and rods darting across the sky, colliding with one another, emitting smoke, and crashing to the earth in flames. This event was so profound that it was recorded in a printed broadsheet by Hans Glaser, complete with a detailed woodcut illustration. Glaser described the incident as a dreadful apparition, involving strange crosses, tubes, and globes locked in violent combat, followed by the arrival of a massive, spear-like object. Just 5 years later, in 1566, a similar phenomenon was reported in Basel, Switzerland. Witnesses described black spheres hovering and moving in erratic formations before vanishing, an incident documented in local pamphlets. Far from being dismissed as folklore, these events were treated with reverence and seriousness at the time. What is striking is how closely these 16th century descriptions mirror modern military encounters with UAPs. Pilots and radar operators report spherical objects flying in formation, performing impossible maneuvers, and disappearing at will. The tools of observation have changed, from the naked eye to infrared sensors and radar, but the phenomenon remains identical. These aren't new occurrences, they are reoccurrences. The idea of ships in the sky also echoes in Celtic and medieval European tradition. In 9th century Ireland, monks at the monastery of Clonmacnoise documented an extraordinary vision: ships in the air, complete with crews. One account tells of a ship's anchor getting caught on the church roof. A crewman descended, seemingly swimming through the air to free it. Once released, the ship rose and disappeared into the clouds. This wasn't mythologized centuries later. It was written down by monks at the time. Similar stories appear in Norse, Welsh, and Basque traditions. Airborne vessels seen sailing through the sky, causing fear, wonder, or divine reflection. These aren't symbolic, they're observations, remembered with the same awe we express today. The same mystery appears in indigenous traditions, but encoded through spiritual language. The Hopi, Zuni, Navajo, and many other Native American nations tell stories of sky people, advanced beings who descended from the stars, taught agriculture, healing, astronomy, and morality, and then left, promising to return. The Hopi describe Kachinas, spiritual beings who arrive in flying shields and ceremonial attire. These Kachinas aren't myths in the abstract. They're core to seasonal rituals, dances, and teachings that continue to this day. They're believed to bring rain, wisdom, and connection between the earthly and celestial. Thousands of miles away, the Dogon people of Mali possess intricate knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye and only confirmed by Western astronomy in the 20th century. Yet, the Dogon knew of its existence, its elliptical orbit, and even its density, long before telescopes could have revealed such data. Their oral tradition claims this knowledge came from beings from Sirius who visited them in ancient times. How could such precise astronomical knowledge emerge without direct contact? In Mesoamerica, the Maya developed celestial calendars with shocking accuracy. Their codices and glyphs speak of visitors from the sky and even gods who descended in flying serpents, like the feathered Quetzalcoatl, and returned the same way. None of these were metaphorical in their original contexts. They were cultural memories, passed down generation after generation, describing encounters with beings not of this earth, encounters with visitors from above. And what's more, these ancient stories contain recurring themes found in modern abduction and contact narratives. Witnesses today, from various parts of the world, report beings that communicate telepathically, deliver messages about environmental destruction, societal collapse, or spiritual awakening, and often promise to return or reappear in greater numbers. These mirror what the ancient prophets said the gods told them. Across time and geography, we begin to see a pattern. Beings descend from the sky. They appear during times of upheaval or transition. They impart knowledge or deliver warnings. They vanish, promising to return. This is not mythology for the sake of imagination. This is a structure, a repeated phenomenon across cultures and epochs. And now, with global governments openly acknowledging UAPs, with trained pilots, military radar, and scientific studies confirming what ancient texts and oral traditions once preserved, we must face a profound question. Are we truly the first to witness this, or are we merely the first to call it UAP? For decades, the subject of unidentified flying objects was relegated to the margins, dismissed as pseudoscience or the delusions of fringe enthusiasts. But in recent years, something profound has changed. What was once taboo has now entered the halls of government, and the shift hasn't come from conspiracy theorists. It's come from official disclosure. In 2017, the world quietly pivoted into a new era. A groundbreaking report by the New York Times exposed the existence of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, a previously undisclosed Pentagon initiative funded with $22 million from the defense budget, championed by Senator Harry Reid. Its purpose: to study and investigate reports of aerial anomalies, phenomena that could not be explained by existing technology or foreign adversaries. This revelation cracked open a door that would not close again. Soon after, the Pentagon declassified 3 now infamous videos: FLIR 1, Gimbal, and Go Fast, captured by U.S. Navy FA-18 pilots during training exercises. These videos depicted craft without wings or propulsion systems, maneuvering at impossible speeds and angles, defying the laws of physics and aviation.
On, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
In 2004, Commander David Fravor, a decorated naval pilot, encountered one such craft off the coast of California, the now famous Tic Tac object. He described it as a smooth, featureless oblong shape that exhibited instantaneous acceleration and vanished only to reappear 60 miles away in seconds. His testimony, delivered under oath before Congress in 2023, added weight and credibility to what was once speculative.
Nickel 6-1 Tango Logic, over. Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger, there's troubleshooting as soon as I get. Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that.
By 2020, the Department of Defense officially confirmed the authenticity of these videos. They were real, and they were unexplained. In 2022, the U.S. established the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, to handle growing reports. By 2024, AARO had cataloged over 1,600 UAP cases, with at least 22 classified as true anomalies, showing behavior inconsistent with any known human-made systems. Their reports state plainly, some of these objects may represent non-human intelligence. In ancient Sumerian texts, gods like Enlil and Ninurta piloted flying vehicles that could hover, shift direction mid-air, and vanish into clouds. Descriptions hauntingly similar to what modern pilots now report. Mesoamerican legends are replete with stories of sky gods, Quetzalcoatl, Tezcatlipoca, and others, who descended from the heavens and interacted with mankind. Could these remains, whether genuine or symbolic, reflect a collective memory of star visitors once known and now forgotten? Europe has not remained silent. In recent years, the European Parliament has called for coordinated efforts to address UAPs and to protect airspace integrity. France's GAIPAN, a unit within the French Space Agency, has investigated UAPs for decades, with thousands of reports on file, including cases involving commercial pilots and radar tracking. In South America, governments have long been more transparent. Chile's CFA and Brazil's military have documented numerous encounters. One of the most extraordinary incidents occurred in 1986, during Brazil's Night of the UFOs, when 21 UAPs were visually confirmed and tracked on radar by multiple Air Force pilots and ground stations. The event remains unexplained, despite official investigations and public acknowledgement. Fast forward to late 2022, the skies over Rio Grande do Sul and neighboring Santa Catarina became the stage for a series of unexplained aerial phenomena. Between October and November, commercial airline pilots from Azul, Gol, and Latam reported seeing mysterious lights in the sky over Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina. These sightings were not isolated. Over several consecutive nights, pilots observed luminous objects, often described as blue lights, that appear to turn on and off and rotate at altitudes around 38,000 feet. Some of these lights reportedly followed aircraft for extended periods before disappearing. While some experts suggested that these lights could be attributed to Starlink satellites launched by SpaceX, others, including astronomers and ufologists, noted inconsistencies. For instance, certain behaviors, such as the lights following aircraft and changing directions abruptly, did not align with the known patterns of satellite movements. These events garnered significant media attention and were widely discussed on social networks, reflecting a growing public interest in UAP phenomena in Brazil. The Brazilian Air Force has historically taken such incidents seriously, as evidenced by past investigations like the 1986 Night of the UFOs, and the establishment of systems like Sioani to study unidentified aerial objects. The recurrence of such sightings in regions like Rio Grande do Sul suggests a persistent and unexplained presence in the skies, echoing ancient narratives of sky beings and mysterious aerial phenomena. As global awareness and official acknowledgement of UAPs increase, these modern encounters invite us to revisit and perhaps reevaluate the stories and records of the past. In Sitchin's works, he claimed the Anunnaki maintained bases across the globe, from Mesopotamia to the Andes. Could recurring sightings in these ancient zones of power hint at a reactivation of long-dormant cosmic routes? The shift from UFO, steeped in decades of sci-fi ridicule, to UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, reflects a broader rebranding. This is more than semantics. It's a calculated strategy to legitimize the conversation and allow scientists, military, and lawmakers to engage publicly without stigma. The message is now precise and institutional. We're not saying these are aliens, but we are saying we don't know what they are, and they're real. And in this official vacuum of uncertainty, the ancient explanations, gods, beings from the sky, start to make sense in an entirely new way. In the records of Mesopotamia, especially as interpreted by Zecharia Sitchin, the Anunnaki were not abstract gods. They were real, physical beings, with rivalries, politics, and advanced technology. They ruled, quarreled, and waged war, including a war that left the earth scarred. In The Wars of Gods and Men, Sitchin describes a cataclysmic event, the nuclear-like destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and a fallout zone over the Sinai Peninsula, a region he identifies as a former spaceport. He ties these myths to archaeological findings, like the sudden radioactive layer discovered in the region and the biblical description of a burning wind that left cities uninhabitable. Following this cosmic war, the Anunnaki departed Earth. Some returned to Nibiru, their home planet. Others may have gone underground or into the oceans. But critically, they never said they were leaving forever. In The End of Days, Sitchin explores ancient prophecies, from the Sumerians to the Egyptians, Hebrews, and Mayans, that speak of upheaval followed by the return of the gods. He ties these cycles to the orbit of Nibiru, which he claims re-enters the solar system every 3,600 years. Sitchin associates Nibiru's last perihelion with around 556 BCE, linking it to pivotal historical events: the rise of the Persian Empire, the Babylonian exile, and even the visions of Ezekiel, who famously described wheels within wheels and radiant beings descending from above. If the cycle is accurate, we are now within the window of return. The idea of return is not limited to Mesopotamia. Quetzalcoatl was said to return at the end of a great age in the Mayan calendar. Zoroastrianism speaks of a Saoshyant, a messianic figure from the stars. The Book of Revelation foretells cosmic signs, judgment, and the return of divine beings. These aren't isolated beliefs. Sitchin argues they are global echoes of the same story: the expectation that the sky gods will come back. Could modern UAPs be a precursor? In The End of Days, Sitchin theorizes that the Watchers, beings who observe from afar, may be the Anunnaki's envoys, here to monitor humanity as we near another critical phase in our planetary evolution. Recent reports show UAPs surveilling nuclear sites, military bases, and sensitive installations. Could these be probes, scouts, or automated drones laying the groundwork for something bigger? As Sitchin writes, the return of the gods is not a matter of if, but when. But here's the challenge. Will we be ready, or will we be conquered, not by force, but by our own blindness? The surge in UAP sightings, the shift in governmental transparency, and the ancient warnings from sacred texts may all converge on one truth, not a new beginning, but the continuation of something ancient returning again. Everything we've explored, from ancient Sumerian records to modern-day congressional hearings, from sky chariots described in the Mahabharata to the tic-tac craft observed by U.S. Navy pilots, forms a mosaic. A living mosaic built of stories, warnings, testimonies, and clues. To some, this might be just another interesting mystery. For me, it's a life's path, a calling, a relentless search that has shaped how I see the world and myself. I've never sought easy answers. I'm not interested in dogma. I pursue depth. I'm someone who thrives in research, who dives into ancient tablets, forgotten libraries, cutting-edge science, and personal accounts. But I do this not to find the answer in a singular, final sense. Because I believe that the moment you accept an answer as absolute, you stop questioning. And questioning is what pushes us forward. It's what evolves both consciousness and civilization. Yes, I do hold beliefs. I believe that UAPs, what we now call Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, are real. I believe they are evidence of intelligences beyond our current understanding. I believe the Anunnaki, those described in ancient Mesopotamian records as descending from the heavens, were not mythological metaphors, but beings of flesh and technology. They shaped not only the architecture of ancient cities, but also the very trajectory of human evolution. I believe that their legacy exists in our collective psyche, perhaps even encoded in our DNA. But belief, in my case, is not a prison. It's a launch pad. Because I don't worship certainty, I seek understanding. And understanding, unlike belief, can grow, adapt, and expand. To me, belief without evidence is superstition. But evidence, when paired with reason, becomes a torch that can illuminate paths even in the darkest corners of history and mystery. That's the path I choose to walk. Over time, I've come to realize something deeper. The answers we seek out there, in the sky, in government files, in sacred texts, often mirror the questions we carry inside. Real freedom comes not from knowing everything, but from having the courage to explore the unknown, including the unknown within. When we sit in silence, when we listen inwardly, not to noise, but to the stillness, we begin to perceive the real shape of truth. So this journey isn't just about the Anunnaki, UAPs, or ancient astronauts. It's also a spiritual journey, a philosophical path. I'm not looking for someone to save me or a messiah to follow. I'm looking for reality, however complicated, layered, or uncomfortable it may be. And that's what I try to bring into my work. Not conclusions, but genuine exploration. Here's what I can say for certain. The phenomenon is real. I've seen it. I've witnessed with my own eyes, since I was a child, objects in the sky that moved in ways no known aircraft can. Lights that shifted direction instantly, forms that hovered in silence, shapes that glowed and vanished. These were not hallucinations. They were events that changed how I think, how I feel, and what I believe is possible. And I've met others who've seen the same. Pilots, researchers, everyday people. Do I know exactly what these beings or objects are? No. And that's perfectly fine, because the deeper truth is found not in answers, but in the pursuit. That brings me to a sobering realization, one I feel compelled to share openly. As governments around the world begin to speak cautiously about UAPs, as ancient records and scientific revelations begin to converge, we are indeed standing at the edge of something profound. But I do not believe that the full truth will come from those in power. Why? Because the truth, if unfiltered, has the potential to destabilize. A real, transparent disclosure, one that admits our myths were true, our gods were visitors, our history more cosmic than terrestrial, would dismantle the very structures of modern society. Religion, economy, power, control, and those who hold power rarely give it up willingly. So yes, there may be disclosures, carefully curated, designed to manage public perception, packaged in ways that maintain the illusion of control. But a true awakening? That must come from elsewhere. It must come from us. It must come from individuals like you and me, curious, questioning, willing to challenge assumptions and piece together the puzzle without waiting for official permission to believe. It's in comparing sources, revisiting history, looking both outward and inward that we begin to unlock something truly revolutionary. Because the real revolution isn't out there, it's inside. So, for me, the most important question is not, are the Anunnaki returning? It's this: are we ready to see what's always been hidden? And more importantly, are we brave enough to understand it for ourselves? Without fear, without blind belief, and without waiting for someone in authority to tell us it's okay to see.